So our next speaker will be Peter Kasprzak, President of Hydrogen Society of Australia. Peter will shed the light on the zero emission highway. The hydrogen is marching on. Peter is the president of Hydrogen Society of Australia and co-founder and CEO of Innovate Australia. Over his career, Peter has gained experience in Europe, the United States, and Australia in fields of emerging technologies, automotive industry, energy, environment, and financial services. He has been director of number of companies ranging from geophysics to manufacturing electric vehicles, charging stations. Peter also headed CRC bid group to create sustainable electrical transport cooperative research center. Peter is the past president of the Innovators Association of Australia. He was the convener of the Hydrogen Society of Australia and heads Hydrogen Highway Group for heavy transport, currently developing zero emission highway, which merges hydrogen highway infrastructures with electric highway infrastructure. As long-term advocate of hydrogen, Peter is delighted to see that hydrogen is marching on. Welcome, Peter.
No sound, Peter.
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can see you and hear you.
Okay, so thank you for the invitation. Topic of my presentation is zero emission highway. Some of you already on this call are familiar with what our vision is here for Western Australia. So basically, this is our vision. So to cover whole Western Australia with the network of 80 stations within the next 8 years. The stations, as you can see here on this image, actually are both hydrogen and also facility to charge electric vehicles as well. This is designed for heavy transport, so we aiming at trucks. As you know, from Nikola, roughly, they create both trucks, electric and hydrogen. Their assessment is that up to 300 miles, actually electrics are still good as trucks, so for shorter deliveries. For longer hauls, especially across states like Western Australia, then definitely hydrogen would be much more suitable. Our philosophy is that we have to do both technologies at the same time, and I can explain that later a little bit. Why is that? And I just want to show you that actually we have a long standing commitment to hydrogen in Western Australia. This is actually, you see on the bottom, that was in 2004. At that time, I was actually living in United States, so I remember that very well when the governor, then Arnold Schwarzenegger, actually started Hydrogen Highway. But at the same time, Western Australia had here a trial. When I come back 2005, came back to Australia, so it was still going trial, and I took several times. I took hydrogen bus. So that's actually our hydrogen right there. We had 3 buses running around Perth, and that was together with European trial program. So you probably can still look up. There is a paper, discussion paper, as a summary of the program that is available online. This I want to show you. Look, just internet. Well, this is important because all the 2 main international agencies, which International Energy Agency and World Energy Council, both actually agree that Australia should be the largest producer of hydrogen. So therefore, it has the potential to do that. So basically, it would make sense that we also adopt this technology. So this vision actually was created roughly about 2018. So this was the vision where Australia should go in the 30 years from 2020, 2050. But as you probably can see, some of this, we actually have a jump start on some of the stuff. Starting at 2020, obviously, this is already happening. And will grow, especially in trucks and buses. And I remember ITM Power recently announced a joint venture to bring 100 buses to Australia. And there are many other projects actually that happening, which I mentioned a little bit later. With hydrogen export, for example, this which was ambition to do with 2030, that way ahead of a plan. Although the Kawasaki project in Latrobe Valley. They already finished the ship. It's not finished yet, but it's already on the water and being finished. And actually, the first shipment is planned towards the end of this year. So somewhere right here. So and theoretically, there was the first export of hydrogen from Australia to Japan, but that was sort of more of the symbolic thing between universities. But hydrogen ships. So, but still, we are pretty much ahead of time. This is sort of also quite interesting because most of you know that we have Australia's national hydrogen last November, and this is interesting that sort of in bold we can see the hydrogen. Clean hydrogen is produced using renewable energy, using fossil fuels with substantial carbon capture and storage. So I think for government that purposely it's quite fluent because substantial is not really defined word, but because we are leading exporter of coal and leading exporter of LNG, which together combine about $110 billion of our export, we cannot just simply quit everything and start just going to different type of fuel. So it will take evolution, rather than revolution in Australia. But definitely, as you can see here, this is, although the mature uses, they're already established there. However, transport is a big thing, is a new emerging use for hydrogen. And the transport in all areas, not just the heavy transport. Most of you, I think on this call right now, we don't have an audience who sort of don't know how the vehicles work because, but just in case very briefly, so this is, that's the inside of hydrogen vehicle. I still come across when people don't know that hydrogen vehicles are electric vehicles actually. So it's actually, they do have batteries, those small battery, and they do have hydrogen tank and fuel cell stack. When basically chemical reaction is created inside the vehicle and create electricity. So this is how the tank looks. This is how the fuel cell stack looks, and this is a tank from a passenger car. So made of carbon. Basically, it's a weave carbon, so it's extremely strong as well. So just wanted, because I'm not sure who else is watching, so how much people have knowledge of hydrogen and hydrogen vehicles. This is according to strategy, which we talk about. This is what government is aiming for in the strategy. And I think Toby was mentioned. So to get to $2 by 2030. However, what's interesting is since then, in less than 6 months, the view of government changed. Now there is a big campaign called H2 under 2, which we basically now trying to get to that area. How far this will go, again, people speculating. Could it go that far? That means, it would be then hydrogen could be used across the board in all industries, or couldn't. Is that actually good if you go that low? Is that be feasible for economy? But it's interesting exercise that in very short time, the governments who are very conservative, usually their view changed so much. And also, as you might remember, before we were talking about being 100% renewable as Australia, then the government was talking last year about, our chief scientist, about 200% renewable. That means we can export the rest. And then now we're talking about 700% renewable resources. So Australia becoming major exporter of renewable energy. So when it comes to Western Australia, this is us. That's July 2019. A year later, after we had a conference here, international conference, we had a minister, Alana McTiernan, who sort of drives this in Western Australia. So as you can see, that's our goals: exports, remote application, which is mining. It's probably it's not huge. Those vehicles, depending on economy, we have in Australia, Western Australia, between 500 and 750. So it's not a huge number of vehicles itself. but they like 2 megawatts on wheels, you know, so 2 megawatts on wheels. So they huge power plants. Basically, you pour diesel in it. They electric vehicles, so they actually drive as electric, but they got big generators online. But the transport, as you can see, blending, which is ATCO is doing here, but transport is the main, for us at least, for Hydrogen Society of Australia is the main focus. There are some big projects, you know, because Western Australia, especially big place, and some of you know, I don't know if Stephen is actually on this call, so but yeah, so there is a Arrowsmith, which is $300 million project. I know they're trying to even expand it right now. Talking to Arena, they get you have also, this is huge project, Murchison project, which is 5 gigawatts. So it's a gigantic project actually happening here. Some of the hydrogen is supposed to be fed into this is our pipeline, gas pipeline, actually from Bunbury to Dampier. And many of you know about this Asian Renewable Energy Hub, which actually it's been on drawing boards for a long time, and it's now in process of being implemented, which is giant. This is, you know, it's sort of like a small country, 6,500 square kilometers, 15 gigawatt project. So you know, our participation in sort of this Western Australian landscape is actually Innovate Australia, which I run. Actually, has many initiatives. One of the initiatives is actually Hydrogen Society of Australia, and the main project of Hydrogen Society of Australia is the Hydrogen Highway, which we created a group that was in November 2018. So that's our team right there. And then, you know, we have really, from very beginning, really good supporters. Peter Klinken is the chief scientist of Western Australia. It's a very cool guy, but very visionary as well. And, you know, he a little bit talks about Western Australia as what they call curse of natural resources, because, you know, if you sort of in good times, clothing and money, then you don't want to innovate, okay? But then, you know, just Linda Reynolds, who is now is a minister for defense, but, you know, a senator for Western Australia, who is a great advocate, actually. Just recently, I had a long Zoom with Linda as well, and, you know, she's a great supporter of Zero Emission Highway Project. So recently, I know Craig is on this call, so recently we organized event, we run events from time to time about Hydrogen Highway and now Zero Emission Highway. So this is we had Neil Thompson actually from ITM Power, Craig representing Horizon Fuel Cell, but also Hyzen Motors with trucks, and Ken Dansley, who is runs Western Roads Federation. So basically putting infrastructure, vehicle, and people together, and just discussing, you know, how we can make this into reality. And again, as you can see, this is very important for us. That's why it's called now not just Hydrogen Highway, but Zero Emission Highway, because definitely we feel very strongly that those two technologies have to work together. They do have applications, actually, in different circumstances, but they do. So this one, again, that's me being a little bit cheeky. I just wanted to show to some people and some politicians here what would that mean. Actually, $500 million, which is the cost of the project, 8-year project. So this is our stadium, which actually, I've actually been very generous with this, because the stadium cost us $1.8 billion, although with the surrounding infrastructure as well. But then, you know, that's sort of maybe not really most appropriate, but at least shows the good illustration to convert the whole state, giant state, into allowing heavy zero emission transport versus, you know, just 1/3 of portion of a stadium. The economic impact on our future and future our kids is going to be dramatically different, probably, in those two examples. So again, so look, the stage one, the idea of our vision, basically to put from Perth to Port Hedland. So the idea was this was our original one. I show you but then we decided to, so first 2 years, but then expanded into from 22 to 28 to expand into to cover the whole state basically. So roughly we're talking about 80 stations throughout the states. In which what's great about it provides two things: provides regional jobs, which is fantastic. It's a big project, obviously. Right now, government is looking for big infrastructure projects. So we're hoping that this is going to be something that actually government will see as a viable option. And look, many of you know this is about a year and a half ago when they started in Los Angeles. I went to see the project there called Shore to Store. So again, that has to do that was the first heavy trucking project around the world. Basically, $82 million. Toyota, Kenworth, UPS, and some other partners. But the idea for that was the Port of Los Angeles, probably like some other ports around the world, by 2035, they have to be zero emission. They don't see a way to do it with electricity. They get over 1,000 cars, which they cannot afford cars and trucks, so they cannot afford to plug them in. Plus import those vehicles working 24 hours a day. So that's why they saw the only solution is actually to use hydrogen. So they right now they have 10 trucks, a couple of forklifts as well, and building 2 stations. So again, there is around the world you can see this Chinese port, Qingdao. It's this is amazing. It's not only the whole thing is actually powered by hydrogen, but also it's using 5G. So as you can see, those trucks, they actually autonomous trucks. So they're running around autonomous, and same as cranes. So basically they operated from the operation center, which is very similar like in Western Australia. If you go to Rio Tinto operation center, which we did some time ago, actually organized an event for politicians to go and see it. And it's amazing. So basically it looks like that, big screens and people just operating the whole thing remotely. So it is the future. So since heavy transport gonna go that way, then definitely it's a solution for trucking. If you're gonna have ports that are gonna operate on hydrogen, it wouldn't make sense actually to use any other technology. So also, as you know, that with transport, the ABB, which is Swedish company with some French companies actually developing container ships. Again, that's to do everything that adds to sort of strength to the idea of zero emission highway, because you're using again same technology across the board. So. And, just many of you know, and some of you, like I said, I didn't know who's going to be watching the presentation. So, but this is not just artist impression. So, these things are actually happening now. So there is you got hydrogen trucks, you got hydrogen trains, which already running around. You got hydrogen trams, which are already popular. So you got hydrogen buses, okay? And again, I spoke earlier about, IPM Power with their partners bringing 100 buses now to Australia. Forklifts, which our chief scientist, Alan Finkel, is actually promoting. California has over 20,000 hydrogen forklifts, which is a fantastic way to actually for companies to get involved in this technology, because you don't need any road design rules, etc. And for local governments, I just did presentation just a couple of days ago to a group of 6 local governments here, and so this is already operating around the world. So as you can see, that all have works in the context of actually of our zero emission highway. Vehicles, again, Trevor Milton, Nikola, which is probably the most well-known company. As you know, they just recently went public. Public offering went very well. So they at least according to the company, the claim is that they get $10 billion in pre-orders right now. and so 14,000 leases. As you know, the Anheuser-Busch bought 800 of the vehicles. So yeah, and they're building with Nel, the Norwegian company, they're building the chain of stations. So we're hoping to see them, although I'm trying to convince Trevor, I'm writing commercials for him and stuff here, to bring him to Australia as well. I know this is not the priority, but I'm hoping to see it on our roads. Hey, we got Craig Knight, who just also part of our presentation here, and Craig again represents Horizon Fuel Cell Technologies, but also Hyzon Motors. So again, being active in Australia, and we're hoping to see it shortly. We got Brendan Norman, although not trucks, but also just recently, I thought mentioned because recently there was a week ago or so, there was a lot of press about H2X and talking about taxis and talking about machinery for agriculture as well. So, and this is our pride and joy, local pride and joy, Dean Robinson, who actually this brand actually it's been around for a long time, I think since '92, but right now Dean is also working on. I know he was talking to Craig as well, but working on developing zero emission solutions. So both we was looking at electric and hydrogen vehicles. So hopefully we will have domestically made actually vehicles running on zero emission highway made here in Western Australia. So that's for me. And if any questions, then I welcome.
Thank you, Peter. It's really nice talk, and it looks like hydrogen is going to change our future mobility and the way we are thinking about it. And there are many questions. I think many people are interested in your talk, and might you need to go over there to answer all of them. There are one from my side is like people are thinking about the transport. There is one question moving around there that we are mostly talking about the transport in form of ammonia. Someone is asking that whether we can use some pipeline for the transport. It will be cost effective. What do you think about it?
Yeah, look, ammonia plays huge role. A lot of you might remember about a year and a half ago, there was a big announcement from CSIRO. Dr. Michael Dolan at University of Queensland was working for CSIRO. They developed a membrane to convert ammonia to hydrogen to ammonia and ammonia to hydrogen. Andrew Forrest, who is our sort of local Elon Musk, sort of maverick billionaire, Andrew Forrest actually grabbed Michael and brought him here to Perth. So Michael actually lives in Perth right now with his family and actually works for FMG, for Andrew Forrest. And they have a whole team of international people actually working on developing that technology. So we do have also in Western Australia, there's a Yarra plant in Barra Peninsula up north that actually supplies 5% of world ammonia. And right now there's a company called Perdaman, which is building another plant which is supposed to be the largest ammonia plant. So there's a lot of work towards using ammonia actually for transporting as well, because utilizing our ability here. And the reason is because the technology existed for a long time, and it's probably a lot of people were talking about distributing ammonia actually and using ammonia fuel cell vehicles, but it's even for public use there are some challenges. Main one was actually smell that turned off people. Yeah.
So there's one more question. It's not regarding the technology. It is regarding what society is doing about the public perceptions about hydrogen. Like the first thing, the public has to accept it that, okay, this will be our fuel for future. So is the society has any plan to spread the knowledge about it?
Yes. So look, what we've done, we actually, first of all, on the 8th of October, we actually brought from United States, in the United States, there is a National Hydrogen Day. And the reason why there is on the 8th of October, because in America, you write the months first, so it's 1008, which is sort of approximate weight of hydrogen. So we actually collaborating with the United States to make that international day instead of national day. We're actually talking right now to our government to establish it as a national day as well. And we will encourage those of you who are actually online right now to organize your events on that day. If you have a seminar or something, we did last year. We did actually with Peter Klinken, who I was showing earlier, our chief scientist. So we had when we had a nice message from United States actually. And then we had our chief scientists, we had panel of presenters and just celebrating the National Day. So that's one, but we also run events. So like I said, just recently we ran that event with Craig, Neil, and some others. And we organize events even through Innovate Australia. A week from now, we have an event which is, the title of the event is Lithium and Hydrogen, and it's a sort of innovation summit, and basically we're talking about should they compete or should they collaborate, and so we're trying to spread the word actually, and that's where we see ours. You have Australian Hydrogen Council, which is Fiona runs it, and this is more to write policies and basically lobby government, then you have Hydrogen Australia with Attilio Pigneri, so which is now part of Smart Energy Council, but they mainly talking about technology, and we're talking about people. So Hydrogen Society of Australia's name indicates basically we're trying to make this technology palatable to accepted with people, and that's what our philosophy is, to have to work together with vehicles.
Yes.
And just in electric storage and in all areas, because those two technologies, they change so quickly.
Yes.
But if you work together, you're sort of hedging the bad technology.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your nice talk and time. Please go into the question and answers tab. There are many people to answers. Thank you so much. I think yeah, thank you. I think now this session is going to end, and we have some time to stretch our legs and have a cup of coffee, and then we will back at 3:45